Everyone thinks the truth is powerful. It's not. The truth is dangerous, because once you see it, you can't pretend anymore. He was an ordinary man. Not famous, not rich, not special. He believed what everyone believes. Work hard. Be honest, stay quiet. Life will reward you. And for a long time, it seemed true. Until one night, he overheard a conversation that was never meant for him. Just one sentence, spoken casually, almost carelessly. Everyone knows, but no one says anything. He laughed at first, but the sentence stayed. It echoed in his head on the way home. It followed him into his dreams. It sat beside him when he woke up. The next day, something felt wrong. People smiled, but their eyes were empty. They talked, but their words meant nothing. It was like everyone was playing a role in a play they secretly hated. That's when the question started. If everyone knows the truth, why does nothing change? If the truth is so clear, why is silence everywhere? And the most terrifying question of all, what happens to someone who refuses to stay silent? That night, he realized something most people never do. Lies don't control the world. Silence does. The truth wasn't hidden. It was ignored, buried under comfort, protected by fear, guarded by people who knew better, but chose peace over honesty. And now the truth had found him. Not because he searched for it, but because it was tired of being ignored. From that moment on, he understood one thing clearly. Knowing the truth doesn't free you, it isolates you. And this was only the beginning. Because the deeper he went, the darker it became. Part 1 ends here. The silence has been broken. Knowing the truth doesn't change your life immediately. It changes how you see it, and that's worse. After that night, he tried to forget. He told himself it was nothing. Just a sentence. Just a thought. But the truth doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It waits. At work, he noticed things he had never questioned before. Rules that made no sense. Decisions that helped the wrong people. Silence where there should have been outrage. No one complained. No one asked why. They followed instructions. They smiled. They stayed quiet. He finally asked someone he trusted. Not directly. Carefully. Don't you think something feels wrong? The man froze. Just for a second. Then he laughed. A fake laugh. And whispered, "Don't think too much. Thinking ruins everything." That's when he understood the price. People weren't ignorant. They were protecting themselves. The truth wasn't hidden by force. It was hidden by fear. Fear of losing comfort. Fear of being alone. Fear of becoming that person, the one everyone avoids. That night, he stopped sleeping. Because once you start seeing patterns, you see them everywhere. In news, in relationships, in success stories that felt rehearsed. The world wasn't broken. It was designed this way. And the most disturbing part? People helped design it. Not because they were evil, but because silence was easier than courage. He realized something terrifying. The system doesn't punish those who lie. It punishes those who speak. That's why truth feels lonely. That's why truth feels heavy. And that's why most people choose silence, even when it costs them their soul. He stood in front of a mirror that night and asked himself a question that would change everything. If I stay silent now, am I any different from them? There was no answer, only a choice, and whatever he chose next would cost him something. Fear doesn't scream, it whispers. It doesn't say, "Don't speak." It says, "Wait." He didn't become brave overnight. Knowing the truth didn't turn him into a hero. It turned him into a target, not from others, from himself. Every time he thought about speaking up, his mind showed him the same images. Losing his job, losing friends, being labeled difficult, being alone. Fear never threatens directly. It negotiates. Just stay quiet a little longer. This isn't the right time. Someone else will speak. Days passed, then weeks, and something strange happened. The fear started to feel normal. He watched people around him. They weren't happy, but they were safe. They had learned the unspoken rule. Say what's allowed. Think what's useful. Ignore the rest. And anyone who broke that rule, they weren't attacked. They were ignored. Silence is powerful because it isolates. You don't need chains. When fear does the job for you. He remembered something an old man once told him. The system doesn't need guards. It needs believers. That's when it hit him. The real prison wasn't outside. It was inside people's heads. People didn't need to be forced into silence. They chose it. every single day, because fear of losing comfort was stronger than the desire for truth. That night, he realized something painful. Fear isn't the enemy. Fear is the tool, and it's used perfectly. The more you know, the more you have to lose, and the more you have to lose, the quieter you become. He stood at the edge of a decision. Speak and lose everything familiar, or stay silent and slowly lose himself. Most people never even reach this point. They distract themselves. They scroll. They laugh. They pretend. But he couldn't unsee it anymore. And deep down he knew, the moment you recognize fear, it loses some of its power, not all of it. Speaking the truth doesn't destroy your life instantly. It slowly removes the mask. He didn't make a speech. He didn't shout. He simply stopped agreeing. And that was enough. At first it was subtle. Meetings where his opinions were ignored. Messages left unanswered. Smiles that no longer reached the eyes. No one confronted him. They didn't need to. Silence became the punishment. He learned something important. The system doesn't fight you. It replaces you. New people appeared. Quieter, easier, more comfortable with lies. He was still there, but invisible. Friends avoided deep conversations. Family told him to relax and not overthink. Even concern became a weapon. You've changed. You're too negative. Why can't you be normal like before? That word again. Normal. Normal meant obedient. Normal meant silent. Normal meant asleep. There were nights he regretted everything. Nights where silence felt tempting again. Life was easier before the truth. But it was fake. And once you taste honesty, even pain feels more real than comfort. He realized the final cost. Truth doesn't take your world away. It shows you which parts were never real. People who liked the old version of him didn't miss him. They missed his silence. That was the moment he stopped seeking approval. Because approval was the leash, and silence was the cage. He wasn't free, but he was no longer owned. And that changed everything. Freedom doesn't arrive with applause. It arrives quietly, almost unnoticed. After losing approval, comfort, and familiarity, he expected peace. He didn't get it. What he got was clarity. And clarity is heavy. There was no audience for his honesty. No reward for seeing clearly. No badge for choosing truth. That's when he understood the final lie. Freedom is not happiness. Freedom is responsibility. When you are free, you can no longer blame the system. You can no longer hide behind ignorance. You can no longer pretend you didn't know. Most people don't want freedom. They want comfort without guilt. They want truth in words, but silence in action. That's why the world stays the same, not because truth is rare, but because courage is. He wasn't special. He wasn't fearless. He was just tired of lying to himself, and that made him dangerous. Not to the system, but to illusion. He no longer needed to convince anyone. He no longer needed permission. Because real freedom doesn't ask to be understood. It simply walks alone. The truth didn't change the world. It changed him. And that was enough. Because when one person stops living a lie, the lie loses a little power. Maybe not today. Maybe not loudly. But permanently. And now there was only one question left. If you know the truth, will you stay silent